More than 1.8 million years ago, something strange was happening on the African savanna. Ancient humans were surviving predators, droughts, disease, and brutal climates. But there was one challenge that should have destroyed them long before lions or starvation ever could: their babies. In 2006, researchers studying the skeleton of a young ancient human made a surprising discovery. The child's growth pattern looked remarkably similar to our own. Unlike most animals, these children grew slowly. They stayed dependent for years. And that created a mystery. A helpless infant is one of the most dangerous survival problems in nature. A newborn can't run from predators. It can't find food. It can't even hold on to its mother the way baby chimpanzees can. So how did ancient humans keep their babies alive? The answer seems obvious. Parents took care of them. But there was a problem. For most of human history, parents were living in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Food was unpredictable. Predators were everywhere. Groups moved constantly. Every extra mouth to feed increased the risk of starvation. Keeping one baby alive was difficult. Keeping several alive at the same time should have been nearly impossible. Yet somehow, our ancestors didn't just survive. They multiplied. And that's where things get strange. Scientists studying hunter-gatherer societies noticed something unusual. Human mothers have children much more frequently than our closest ape relatives. A chimpanzee mother may wait 5 or 6 years before having another infant. Humans often have children much closer together. That sounds like a small difference. It wasn't. Having multiple dependent children at the same time dramatically increases the amount of food, protection, and care required. A mother alone would struggle to provide everything. The obvious explanation was that fathers solved the problem. But the evidence didn't fully fit. Many ancient human groups spent long periods hunting, traveling, or gathering resources far from camp. Fathers helped, but researchers realized something unexpected. The survival system appeared to be much larger. Then, archaeologists and anthropologists began comparing human societies across different continents. What they found changed the entire picture. In many traditional societies, babies were not raised by just 2 parents. They were raised by entire communities. Grandmothers carried them, older siblings watched them, aunts fed them, other adults protected them. Instead of depending on a single caregiver, human children were surrounded by a network of helpers. This had a massive consequence. More caregivers meant more surviving babies. More surviving babies meant larger groups. Larger groups could gather more food, defend territory more effectively, and pass knowledge between generations. But this created a new mystery. Why were humans doing something that most other primates rarely do? The answer seemed to point toward one of the most important evolutionary changes in human history: our brains. As ancient human brains grew larger, babies faced a serious problem. To fit through the mother's birth canal, they had to be born earlier in their development.
In a sense, human babies arrived before they were fully ready. The consequence was enormous. They required years of protection and learning. Survival no longer depended only on strength. It depended on cooperation. And then, scientists discovered evidence suggesting that one overlooked family member may have played an even bigger role than anyone expected: the grandmother. At first, the idea sounded almost too simple. How could grandmothers possibly change the course of human evolution? But when researchers examined modern hunter-gatherer groups, a pattern appeared again and again. Older women often continued gathering food long after they stopped having children of their own. That fact had an unexpected consequence. Instead of investing energy into producing more offspring, they helped support existing children and grandchildren. The survival impact was enormous. A mother with extra help could spend more time recovering, gathering food, and caring for multiple children at once. Infants received more attention. More children survived to adulthood. And suddenly, a mystery that had puzzled scientists for decades started to make sense. Humans weren't succeeding because individual parents were extraordinary. They were succeeding because entire families worked together.
But there was another challenge: food. Ancient babies couldn't survive on adult foods immediately. They needed a reliable source of nutrition during the most vulnerable years of life. For a long time, researchers assumed breastfeeding alone explained their survival. But the evidence didn't fit perfectly. Ancient humans often lived in environments where mothers faced hunger, migration, injuries, and dangerous conditions. If a mother died or became unable to feed her child, the infant's chances should have collapsed. Yet human populations continued growing. And that's where archaeologists uncovered something surprising. Evidence from ancient tools, cooking sites, and wear patterns on teeth suggested that early humans may have been preparing soft foods specifically for young children far earlier than scientists once believed. The answer seemed obvious: feed the children. But the implications were far bigger than anyone expected. Cooking changed everything. When food is cooked, it becomes softer, safer, and easier to digest. That meant children could begin receiving nutrition beyond breast milk earlier than before. The consequence rippled through entire communities. Mothers were no longer the sole source of calories for a growing child. Other family members could help feed them. The survival impact was dramatic. A child who received additional food had a better chance of surviving droughts, illness, and seasonal shortages. A mother with support could care for younger infants. Human populations could grow faster than ever before. But then, scientists uncovered the final piece of the puzzle, and it changed the story completely. The greatest advantage ancient humans had wasn't strength, speed, or even intelligence. It was shared knowledge. Every generation learned which plants were safe, where water could be found, how to treat injuries, how to protect infants from cold nights, and how to respond when food became scarce. That knowledge was passed from parents to children, grandparents to grandchildren, and elders to the entire group. A baby wasn't just being protected, it was being taught how to survive. And that's the final reveal. Ancient humans kept their babies alive through a system unlike almost anything else in nature. They created networks of care. They shared food. They shared protection. They shared knowledge. A helpless infant, which should have been humanity's greatest weakness, became its greatest strength. Because every child forced people to cooperate, and every act of cooperation made groups stronger. In the end, the survival of ancient babies may have shaped the entire human story. The cities we build, the technologies we create, and the civilizations we inherit may all trace back to one extraordinary decision our ancestors made thousands of generations ago. When a baby cried, everyone answered.